Hello, I hope you're doing well. I think by the time you're watching this, I will be in Chicago. I had a very last minute work thing come up, so instead of a plan with me, I'm gonna do a Q&A video. So really funny story. I already answered maybe like 6 questions until I realized that instead of using my recording app, I was using my stopwatch. I was very close to saying that this Sunday there will be no video, but I've calmed down a little bit and we will try again. So anyways, what you're watching now is last Sunday morning, I went into the office to pack some orders, but of course in the morning, I always start off by writing down my to-do list. Okay, so I'm going to start with a business question. What is the ratio of sticker sheets that are made in-house versus outsourced? So I didn't prepare for this Q&A and I'm not going to pull any data, but I'm going to say like 97% of our stickers are made in our office. The things that we outsource are specialty stickers, like for example, stickers with foil on them. Because to do really nice foil, you need a special I think a heat foiling machine. I don't specialize in foil stickers and I don't do them often enough for the machines to be worth it. Now for the regular emoji stickers that we make in-house, it would honestly probably be cheaper and less of a headache for me to outsource, but the reason why I don't do so is, number one, I really like the matte paper that we use, and if I outsource, I would have to change that. And number two, I get a lot of my product ideas spontaneously and I don't like to be constrained. For example, if I have a sticker idea last minute, I want to be able to act on it and release it rather than having to wait a month for someone else to make it for me. Okay, this is a fun question. So if Hobonichi wanted to do a collaboration with me one day, what kind of design would I pick? So I think with Hobonichi collaborations, most of it's going to be either the covers, the notebooks, or the pencil boards. So with that in mind, I have 2 answers. The first would be something very similar to the January 2026 theme. So like a bright yellow, burnt orange, light blue, teal, and green. And it's kind of like a sweet, friendly neighborhood theme. And my second choice would be based on the Out of the Woods theme from my store. If it ever happens, I will definitely have the hardest time making a decision. Okay, I am ready to go. Usually I would walk or run to the office. However, today I'm gonna drive because I have not driven my car in I think maybe a week and a half, and my goal is to drive once a week. I got a few questions asking how do I enjoy living by myself and why I decided to move out of my parents' house even though I am really close with them. I have always loved living by myself and having my own space. And in fact, one of my, worries is that if I do ever end up getting married, I feel like I would really, really miss living by myself. But yeah, I think I just have a lot of quirks and quirky routines that I want to be able to do without having to explain to other people. And as for moving out, honestly, it's a very uninteresting answer. It is just because I really, really, really love my solitude, and even though my parents are amazing and they are literally the least invasive parents ever, I did find that it was affecting my mental health. Not because of my parents, but just like the idea of living with other people. I have a question from Catherine who asked, do you think you'll do any more fountain pen and or ink collaborations in the future? I would definitely like to, and I think if I were to do another collaboration, if I could just say it and it happens, it would probably be a TWSBI, just because I have used the TWSBI Eco for so long, and I think it'll be a really nice way to introduce new people to fountain pens. And for a collaboration ink, I don't have a brand in mind, but I do think that my next ink will have to be a green for some reason. I just already have it in my head and I would love a nice green. Now, some of you might know that I have been on the hunt for my perfect yellow fountain pen ink, and I have not come across it just yet. I'm very picky about yellows, and you might be wondering, why don't you just do a collaboration and come out with your perfect yellow? The reason I don't want to do that is if it's like really hard to achieve my perfect yellow and it doesn't end up being my perfect yellow, I feel like that would be really, really embarrassing. So I'm gonna stay away from yellow. Do you have any guilty pleasures you indulge in once in a while besides stationery? I definitely do. And just to list a few, I love getting my nails done. This is just really random, but I love treating myself to new workout clothes from Lululemon. I'm really not picky about the coffee that I drink, but I do love going to cafes once in a while to get an Americano or an iced Americano. And food-wise, I think I enjoy trying new snacks. Recently, I tried Drizzlicious rice cakes, and those are so delicious, and I'm trying to hunt down more flavors. Do I have any interest in selling my products in small, minority-owned family businesses? So all of the retailers that I do work with now, they're all small businesses. I believe all of them are family-owned, and I also believe maybe 3 or 4 of them are minority owned. So yes, I'm definitely open to working with retailers of any size. I have some retailers who order hundreds of each new item and other retailers who order less than 5 of each new item, and I work with them individually and I don't expect like any big numbers. Honestly, like I only work with retailers just to be able to bring my products around the world, and it's not so much, it might be hard to believe, but it's honestly not so much about the money. And also, I actually find working with smaller retailers easier just because I don't feel as pressured. Like obviously, if a shipment is delayed, it's a very big deal if it's a shipment of several hundred products versus a shipment of 5 products, you know? Alma asked, will you do the prompts next year too? So every month I publish a list of prompts on my website, and I have been doing that for almost 2 years now. At this current moment, with my well-being and my stress levels, I cannot imagine doing daily prompts for 2026. This might change, but just like again, currently, as I am recording the voiceover for this question, I don't think I will. I have a lot to say about the whole prompts thing, but just to not ramble on too much, it's a temporary no. And I do think if I were to stop doing daily prompts, I might do a variation. So maybe I will do weekly prompts or monthly prompts and quarterly prompts. Ooh, this is an interesting one. How did you hire your employees in Sophia? Did I know them before? Did I go through an agency, ad, etc.? Sophia is my assistant, and she has been working with me, I think we're on our 3rd year actually. I will have to double check. I wasn't close with Sophia before, but she did have an active like planning and journaling Instagram account, and I've interacted with her a few times, so I was somewhat familiar with her. And if I recall correctly, I think like one time she just like mentioned to me that she would love to work with me, and at the time, I was very new and I couldn't imagine hiring someone just to be my assistant. Like that was a foreign concept. And I think maybe a year or 2 years later, I was like kind of just hanging on by a thread, and I was like, I really do actually need some help. And my head just like randomly thought of Sophia and that remark that she made. So I actually emailed her and asked her if she was still open to working with me. So yeah, that's kind of how I hired Sophia. And as for everyone else, for shipping, packing, cutting stickers, etc., I'm going to be completely transparent at this time. My mom, who acts kind of as a manager, she does a lot of the hiring. So yes, we do put out ads, and actually a lot of our hires are also our employees who have friends who are looking for a job. So I guess it's a little bit of networking as well. What is on your bucket list for your next travels, and how is decorating my house going? Okay, I have 3 answers for traveling. Number 1 is I want to go back to China one day. I was supposed to go back, I think February of this year, but due to numerous reasons, I didn't go back. Number 2, I would love to go to any Spanish-speaking country, just so that I can practice my Spanish and really like immerse myself in the culture. And number 3, I would love to go on a tour of Europe, Germany to visit my friend, France, Italy, Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, so many countries. So yes, my bucket is very full. And as for decorating my house, I haven't done much recently just because I have been so busy with deadlines, but over the holidays, I do have several crafty projects in mind, and I will try to film it because I think it'll be fun. It involves a little bit of construction, some clay, some painting, and yeah, other fun stuff. A few questions about the drawing programs and tablet that I use. So for the tablet, I use the Wacom Intuos tablet, and it might be a small or medium, I'm not too sure. Actually, I think it's a small. I think it's like the most basic tablet that you can get, so pretty affordable relative to other tablets. And as for the drawing programs, I use several. So I use Paint.Tool, Affinity Designer, Affinity Photo, Photoshop, and Adobe Illustrator. Each of the programs have their own pros and cons, and I guess over the past 10 years of doing this, I kind of just developed my own process and my own preferences for which program I like to use for whichever purpose. If you are just getting started with digital art, I recommend getting the program GIMP. It is a free program, and that is how I started with digital art. I have 2 questions, both mentioning Taylor Swift. So what are my favorite songs from The Life of a Showgirl? And I'm a big fan of your song choices for my TikToks. And do I have any favorite artists besides Taylor Swift? So I have not been as involved in the Taylor Swift universe because, again, I have been very busy with deadlines, and like when I'm busy, I don't have any personality. So yeah, I think it took me like 3 or 4 days to actually listen to the album. But yeah, I will put my favorite songs on the screen. And then as for other artists besides Taylor Swift, I'm someone who listens to music that I like, and I don't particularly get into any genre, or I'm not like a big fan of any particular artist or group. So for example, I'm not really involved in like K-pop. However, I do have several K-pop songs that I really like, and I have it in my playlist and I listen to it. I also really like classical music, but I'm not super knowledgeable about classical composers. I also like trendy songs, pop, and I guess another big genre is hip-hop. I will also put on the screen a few artists that I have been listening to lately. What do you think is the dividing line between someone who should keep art as a hobby versus making it a career? And what do I think about being pulled in different artistic directions? For example, I love watercolors and oil painting, but I primarily design digitally. I think my answer for these 2 parts are actually kind of related. So in general, I think with any hobby, making it a career, there's definitely that risk of like getting burned out or like no longer enjoying that hobby. I think I have been kind of able to avoid that because designing digitally for TheCoffeeMonsterzCO, I love what I do. However, if I'm feeling burnt out from drawing emojis on the computer, I can go and paint a landscape, and to me that feels very different. So I think that's kind of the sweet spot with hobbies as careers. Maybe if you have a hobby, it might be very risky to have your life depend on that hobby. However, I think if you can have a career that is just adjacent to your hobby, that is like the best thing, because you still get to do something that you love for a living, but you also kind of separate something that you like to do in your downtime. This is not to say, though, that you should not pursue your hobby as a career. It is just my opinion, and I tend to be very risk averse, so I don't think I would ever be okay trying to make a living off of my watercolor landscape paintings. I kind of want to keep that separate, you know? Okay, this question has the most likes, so I'm going to answer it, but it's like the worst answer. How do I store my old journal safely? My answer is I don't. I have all of mine on a shelf. So far, it is okay, and I haven't run out of space yet. I'm guessing in 5, 10, 20 years' time, I will run into this problem, and at this moment, I will leave that for future Helen to deal with. I do apologize that I don't have a better answer for you. I had several people asking me for productivity tips. How do I handle my busy schedule, multiple projects, keeping up with life, work, being on top of work, especially when I set my own schedule, etc. Just a few days ago, I was answering a journaling prompt, and it was about something that I had to unlearn. And my answer was that overworking and sleep deprivation is not something really to brag about. And I wanted to mention that because, yes, I do work on way too many things at the same time. I am a very busy person and I don't have much free time. And I hesitate to just like straight up give tips because I guess I don't want to encourage it and play it off as I am doing amazing in life. Because if you watch my weekly videos, you probably can gauge that I do deal with a lot of mental health issues and currently some health issues. So yeah, I guess as a preface, it's not really something that I would encourage you to strive for. But functionally, my honest answer is that I'm just kind of in fight or flight mode 24/7. Even when I'm eating, I'm usually like doing something related to work. I don't ever just like watch a movie or a TV show. I'm always like doing a split screen. I have a movie on one side and I'm working on something. Even when I'm running or I'm on the Stairmaster or something, my brain is like constantly brainstorming ideas and solving problems. And at the same time, I'm probably thinking about family stuff, life stuff, etc. And to keep myself organized, I obviously have all of my planners that you see on this channel. I also have a business planner, which I don't really show on social media because number one, it is chicken scratch, and number two, there's a lot of sensitive information that I would not like to put on social media. I do a little bit of digital planning, like for example, with the 2026 collection, I made a lot of my checklists on the computer in Excel first because in the beginning stages of a project, I change my mind a lot and I shuffle things around. So if I were to make the checklist on paper, it would just be an entire mess. But after I kind of finalize everything, I do prefer transferring like all of my digital information onto paper. I do also sometimes get overwhelmed by the concept of a planner, and I just use scrap paper and do a bunch of notes, and I will put on the screen an example that I did recently. So yeah, I don't really have a single answer for this, but hopefully this helps in some way. And as for coping with so little free time while working towards a goal, which is actually the most fitting question right now, especially with the 2026 collection, I do find myself getting a little bit moody and short-tempered, snappy, all the nasty adjectives. And honestly, something that helps me is going on runs, working out, and going on the Stairmaster. I also do find it useful to do something that makes me happy each day. So during my slower seasons, I love to read before bed, but nowadays, I don't do that because I'm literally cramming deadlines up until I sleep. But other things that I can do that makes me happy is, for example, trying out a new tea while I'm working, or spending an extra 10 minutes after I shower doing my skincare, or, I don't know, buying my favorite fruit at the grocery store for that week. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but just like these little things that don't eat away at the time that I need to be productive, but still makes me happy. Again, I just want to emphasize that I am fully aware this is like not healthy, and after this is all over, I will be taking a break. But I guess I just wanted to answer this question for anyone who might be in a similar position. Okay, I'm going to try to get through a few more questions very quickly. Pam asked, how did I come up with the name TheCoffeeMonsterzCO? Very uninteresting and cringy answer. I started my business when I was 15 and I thought it was like so cool that I loved coffee because I saw it as like an adult drink. And so I was like, yeah, I'm TheCoffeeMonsterzCO. And I added a Z because I thought it was cool. And the Co stands for company because, again, I thought I was like hot stuff. That is literally the story behind the name. It was 15-year-old me trying to be cool. And I think for a while I thought about changing the name because I was like, again, this is so cringy. But I guess nowadays I'm just like, whatever. It is part of my history. Have you ever thought about doing a collab with a game or book author? And I also want to say a thank you to this particular person. Let's see. I would love to do a collaboration with either Minecraft or Stardew Valley. As for books, you know, a lot of my favorite authors, they're no longer living, so I don't know if I can collab with them. You know, I will say this. One of my longtime customers, her name is Carissa Chen. She recently came out with a book called Homeseeking, and I am so happy and proud of her, so I would love to do a collaboration with her. MJ asked, what is on my stationery radar? Specific fountain pen ink, washi tape, etc. I'm very content with my fountain pen collection and ink collection at the moment. I don't have any pens that I foresee myself getting within the next 6 months. However, I do think that in the far future, I would love to get a Mont Blanc curve nib and a Nikaya from Japan. Also, lately I have been a lot more interested in papers and notebooks, so I might dabble in a few new brands. Will I ever bring back my first washi design? I don't think so, just because I don't like it, and I don't like selling things that I don't like. I know it's kind of a selfish answer because many people do like it, but yeah, to me it just it doesn't feel good, so yeah, I will consider it. Never say never. I see a question about dessert, which makes me crave dessert. My favorite flavor of ice cream would probably be coffee or hazelnut, and my favorite dessert in general would be a good chocolate chip cookie. Or I love brownies made out of dates. What hobby or interest do you want to give time to in the future? I have two. One is ceramics and like pottery. I would love to learn how to use the wheel. And number two would be some form of dance. I did ballet for I think 2 or 3 years. Obviously I stopped. But yeah, I would love to get into dance again, just like any sort of dance, mostly because I am terrible at dancing. I have no rhythm, and I just want to be like, I don't know, somewhat decent at it. Okay, I will answer 2 more questions. What is my favorite part of being an aunt to Luca, my nephew? He is at this age where he talks, but half of the things he says makes like no sense, or rather like I can't interpret it. So it is absolutely hilarious to me, and it's just amazing seeing him week after week, and he just like comes to me with like new words and new knowledge. I'm the youngest in the family, so I've never seen like a baby grow into a toddler, so it's just fascinating for me. And then, will you ever branch out to doing another character from my emojis, or like doing a collection without emojis? So a few years ago, I came out with a line of tater tots. These are like little peoples that actually look very similar to emojis, but they have like skin color, hair, etc. And I don't know, I just like never really revisited that. So if you're interested, I can do that again. And as for collections, actually, before I started doing emoji kits, all of my collections had nothing to do with emojis. I would be open to doing collections and kits not featuring emojis. However, I don't think I will go back to my initial style. Maybe something to do with watercolor landscapes and less about digitally drawn people. Okay, I don't think I even did half of the questions. So I suppose there will have to be a part 2 to this at some point. But yeah, thank you so much for all of your questions and for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the month. I hope you take care, and I will talk to you soon.